Hey guys, John Riley, BushCraft Bumps. It's been a while, so I figured I'd start off easy. I want to talk a little bit today about bushcraft knives. I get a lot of emails from people, and they ask me, what's your favorite bushcraft knife? What do you use? And people could talk about this for days. There's a big source of debate over what makes a good bushcraft knife, or even the term bushcraft knife to begin with. Before bushcraft became known as bushcraft, a bushcraft knife was anything that anybody had that they used when they went out into the woods, which is probably the best definition of what it is. But it's kind of evolved into its own thing, and it's kind of come to a standardized acknowledgement of what it is. And typically most people would say that a bushcraft knife is something with approximately a 4-inch blade and a Scandinavian or single bevel grind and a good carbon steel. All right, and you can go a number of different ways with that and spend as many or as little as you want. So I have a couple of examples here. First, this is a custom bushcraft knife. This is made by a guy called Adventure Sworn. And everything about this knife is really just a work of art. The sheath is beautiful. It's nice tooled leather. It's really nice, well stitched, put together. I mean, the handle itself is beautiful. It's got really nice liners. It's just a lot of work went into this. This one's seen a little use, but it's a really great knife, and this was gifted to me by my good friend Tony. It's a beautiful knife, and as beautiful as it is, and as such a work of art as it is, I don't use it. I don't use it. I appreciate it for what it is, and I know that's a great gift, but I don't use it as much as I should. What I use more commonly than not is a simple common Mora knife. This particular model is a Mora Carbon Companion, and I did some mods to the sheath. I'll show you that in a minute. But I've been using Mora knives consistently for about 10 years, and there's a couple of things that I really like about it. It's got a Scandinavian grind, as does this bushcraft knife. They both have blades of about a similar size. It's really, really light. It has a really thin blade stock, and the handle is kind of rubberized, which makes it really grippy and comfortable and a positive grip, even when you're cleaning game or you got or it's wet, which is really, really handy. And I've used this knife for pretty much just about everything you could think of to use when you're out in the woods. I've filleted fish with it. I've breasted out pheasants with it. I've cleaned small game. I've split kindling with it. I've made feather sticks for fires. I've made probably a million trap triggers with it. I've carved just about everything you can think of has been done with this knife, and it's held up really, really wonderfully. A lot of people are fixated on the idea that a bushcraft knife should have a full tang, and what that means is that the tang extends all the way through the handle. This metal from the blade extends all the way through the handle. This gives a lot of strength to the knife, and I will not debate that that is a nice feature to have. The Mora knife, as you can see, does not have a full tang. The tang is buried in the handle, and it comes to about a 3/4 tang. It ends up right about here. And while I was a little trepidatious about that at first, over time, Mora's proved to me time and time again that it is more than capable of handling any modest bushcraft task, including splitting, kindling. So I'll show you some modifications in a minute that I've done to the sheath and the knife itself, and I'll put a little demonstration of what this knife is capable of. All right. So I want to talk a little bit about the Mora knife, and I like to wear my Mora knife around my neck. This is potentiated by a lot of the more renowned bushcrafters, such as like Morse Corchancy or Cody Lundeen and these guys. This idea kind of originated in Scandinavia, where a lot of the people hunted and foraged out on the ice, and there's always the looming threat that you would fall through the ice. And having a knife around your neck gave you the ability to grasp your knife even though your lower body was through the ice, and so you could stab it into the ice and pull yourself out, for use as a piton or something like that. So it kind of caught on, and a lot of people use it. It's also nice because you always kind of can keep an eye on your knife. You always know where it is. Sometimes when you have a knife on your hip, it's easy for it to fall out. You wouldn't even know that it's gone. You always kind of have a clear kinesthetic sense of where your knife is. A couple of modifications I made to the sheath and my lanyard just to make it easy. Simple things. I'm a simple guy. I like simple solutions to things. But the first thing I did was obviously I put some orange duct tape around it. This gives the knife a little more visibility. Should I put the sheath down on the ground, it's easy for me to find in the leaf litter. When I first bought this knife, they only came in this olive green color, which is great if you're trying to escape ninjas in the jungle, but not so handy if you're just camping. So Now you can get in a wide variety of colors, but my simple solution was just to put some orange duct tape on it. Another thing I did was I included in the duct tape, this is just a severed cap of a magic marker. It creates a little loop for me, and what that loop does is hold my fire steel. And I positioned it in such a way that if you listen, you can hear it click into place. Now that fire steel is locked in there, it's secure, it's not going to fall out. I can leave it there, I don't have any real worry about it. All right. In addition to that, over time, these companion sheaths have a little clasp in here, which kind of keep like a little groove that the knife fits into. But over time, it kind of wears down a little bit. After you take the knife out of the sheath a couple of hundred times, it starts to loosen up a little bit. So I just wanted to put a little retention strap on there. So this is just a piece of paracord that I melted the ends of. Slips right over the end of the knife. Good secure retention. Then when I need the knife, it pops out easily. I can grab my knife, easy access, and security. All right. As I mentioned before, I really like to carry my knife around my neck, which is great for most of the time. When you're hiking, it's great because it doesn't get in the way of your pack strap or your waist strap. If you're, doing stuff around camp, you have your food prep or everything, the knife's right there, it's handy, it's beautiful. There are a couple of times when having the knife around your neck can really be a pain in the neck, literally. A couple of things that come to mind is maybe when I'm working a bow drill, the knife's dangling around, it's hitting the bow, it's hitting the drill. And another thing maybe would be if I'm shooting archery, as I pull back, it gets all dangled up. So I wanted a way that I could adjust my knife sheath for these activities. So one of the ways that we can do this is I use what's called, they call it a fisherman's knot, but it's essentially two overhand knots tied on opposite sides of the cord. This allows me to slip it over my neck for regular neck carry. But then if I want to extend it, I just pull it out straight, and I can carry it under my arm like so. And this now frees me up. It frees me up if I'm shooting my bow, that it doesn't get in the way of my arms or anything like that. Or if I'm working a bow drill, it gives me freedom on the ground too. So it's a nice little way to carry it, and it's easy enough to adjust back to neck carry position. Should I choose to do so, I just take those two knots, and I'm just going to split them out, and we go back on the neck. Another thing I did was these spines of the Mora knives come unfinished, so sometimes it's hard to spark a fire steel with them, so I just kind of filed this one down a little bit, and this just enables me to get a good shower of sparks off the back of my fire steel. So there's just a couple of modifications I made to this simple knife, and this is the most common bushcraft knife that I use. A couple of things that I really like about it are, A, it is cheap. These can be had for about $15 online. Ragweed Forge or Ben's Backwoods is a great place to get them. Yeah, about 15 bucks, and they're easily replaceable. They're prolific. You can get Moras all over the place online. If you just Google Mora knife, a million things are going to pop up. And I like that a lot of bushcraft knives don't have. What this has is a really nice thin blade. I like that. I think it makes it for a Scandi knife. It really makes it very easy to do good slicing. Gives a good balance between carving and food prep, and it's really great for filleting and game duty and stuff like that. And it's light to wear around the neck. If I was to wear this beautiful custom knife around my neck, I'd be getting tired pretty quickly. So this is a nice little light utility knife. And I'll just do a couple of quick demonstrations of some of the things that can be done with it for anybody who doubts that it has any type of significant strength. Alright, so I just wanted to give a quick little demonstration about how the Mora can be applied as a camp tool. Obviously, other than the standard utilitarian cutting, food prep, game cleaning tasks, even despite the fact that it does not have a full tang and it's a thin little blade, the Mora is robust enough to do some batoning with it. Now, when I say that, I say it in the most cautious of terms. A lot of people are very pro batoning. A lot of people are against it. A lot of people say it's axe work. And yes, most of the splitting should be done with an axe. I will not debate that. However, when it gets down to the really finite stages of kindling, I think splitting with an axe can be dangerous. And you want to get down to so you have some relatively thin wood that you want to get down to the dry wood inside. If you have a knife, that's great. I don't always have an axe with me every time I leave the house. I usually have a knife on me, so it's not, in that sense, it can be employed as a survival knife. The first thing people do, a lot of survival guys do when they get a knife, is they want to be like, all right, I got my Mora, let me test it out, and I'm going to baton with it. And of course, then, obviously, if I take a little thin knife like this and I try to split a piece of wood as big as my thigh, I'm going to run into complications, especially in a $15 knife. So why do it? Let's keep it realistic, and we're going to stick to splitting wood that's a modest size. There's that piece of wood I just had. Anyway, this is even a little thick, but since we're doing the demonstration, I'll use this. But it's a modest size, you know, relatively thick, so we'll split it down. All right, so as long as you keep even pressure on the blade, I try to keep as much pressure on the handle as I am on the blade when I'm batoning. And I'll kind of keep it even. Split it down. No effects to the knife, no ill effects to the knife, as long as you use it sensibly. Right? I'm going to split down a couple of more little pieces here. You can split it down. You keep going as little as you want, obviously, as anybody who batons would know. Right? We can get it down nice and small. Alright, so I just split a relatively large piece of wood with this knife. As you can see, there is very little negative effect on the blade. It's still capable of getting nice long curls for fire starting. And obviously any of these will take a spark and be a very useful feather stick to have for fire starting. And this should be one of the main considerations of a bushcraft knife, is you should be able to split modest wood down, at least in my opinion, and I'm no expert, it's just my thoughts on it. But I think a bushcraft knife should be able to split down modest kindling and then still have the ability to make very fine shavings so that you could light those shavings and then use the kindling to kindle yourself a fire in the case of an emergency. Right, so as you can see, I mean, that's all well and good right there. So I think we got a good winner. All right, so I think the average Mora knife can be had for about $15 online, which really can't be beat. You can get them on Amazon.com, Ben's Backwoods, Ragweed Forge. So yeah, for about 15 bucks, you get a great all-purpose survival knife. For $15, what I did is I went out, $15 a piece, and I bought 10 of them. So I have a lifetime supply of Moras for the price of one high-craft bushcraft knife, and I've had this one for about 2 years. I've been consistently using Mora knives for 10 years, and I've never had failure or any problem as a result of them. Being a Scandinavian grind, they are ridiculously easy to sharpen. If you guys have an interest, I'll show a video of how I like to sharpen them at another time. But that's it. This is my most used bushcraft knife. It's been all over on all my adventures with me, and this or a knife very similar to it has, and I use it consistently for just about everything. So Mora of Sweden, carbon steel companion. All right, I'm John Riley. It's Bushcraft Bums. Thanks for watching.